Hey, everybody, welcome in to the Basketball Bulletin. I'm Trevor Lane. Yes, it's been a long night already, but some insane things happening around the NBA tonight. The Suns just lost to the Milwaukee Bucks just moments ago. It is absolute madness happening right now in the NBA and drastically changing a number of playoff races. I'm going to get into what all of this means. Happy to have you all here. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Lots of stuff for us to talk about tonight. Ooh, I can't believe the Suns lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. Man, that changes things quite a bit in the Western Conference. We've got fights breaking out. We've got multiple buzzer beaters. This is a insane 10 games tonight, which means what, 2/3 of the NBA in action tonight. The tempers are running high right now because everybody's fighting for playoff positioning and all of that. I think maybe there's a little bit of crankiness this late in the season as well, but we've got a fight in the Wizards Thunder game. We've got multiple buzzer beaters. We've got upsets. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff happening. So again, happy to have you all here. Let's dive in here. And let's start with the Thunder and the Wizards. Who's fighting who? Yeah, I know. You literally just saw me on Lakers Nation. I know, but there was so much happening. I went, we need to talk about what's happening around the league right now. So we will get into the Lakers. We'll get into the Lakers, but there's a lot going on around the league. Take a look at what happened. Thunder Wizards, the result, not a surprise. That's not why we are even talking about Thunder Wizards. No, we're talking about the fight that started in the Thunder Wizards game. 4 players ejected. Take a look at this. 4 players ejected for this situation here. And here's what happened. You've got Justin Champagnie and big Jalen Williams get into it. The push by Champagnie. Jalen Williams takes exception to it. You could see people are trying to keep this all apart. And then everything just, all hell breaks loose. It spills into the stands here. Multiple players are going to get ejected. The announcers, I didn't see it on the replay, but the announcers said punches were thrown. I mean, this is the NBA's league office. After the Luka technical foul suspension that they have to now review, and they've got this too to try to figure out. Jalen Williams, AJ Mitchell, Cason Wallace, all from the Thunder, ejected, and Justin Champagnie from the Wizards also ejected. Look at this madness, trying to pull players out of the stands. Fans there trying to record it. Yikes. What a mess. And this is the Washington Wizards. They're tanking. And wow, this wound up a mess. So just one. Look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trying to get AJ Mitchell out of there. Whew. What a mess there that the NBA is now going to have to deal with. Again, nothing crazy in terms of the score. The Thunder, of course, won. Took them a little while. The Wizards hung in there for a bit. But Washington not putting up with anything from the Thunder. The Thunder sending it right back. That was a battle. All right. The Hornets beat the Grizzlies. Not a surprise there. The Grizzlies got a surprise win the other night over the Denver Nuggets, but they don't want to mess around and win too many games. Because remember, while we're talking a lot about the playoff race, there's also a tank race that's happening right now. And if you look, the Grizzlies are 1 game behind the Dallas Mavericks in the win column. They'd like to drop below the Mavericks and have the 6th best lottery odds. They're not going to catch the Utah Jazz, who are at 21-50. They're not going to go there. But if they accidentally win too much, they could also catch the New Orleans Pelicans, who are actually trying to win because they don't get their own pick, much to the dismay of the Atlanta Hawks. Yes, the Pelicans are trying to win, and the Hawks, who at one point looked like they would have the best lottery odds in the NBA, they would have the number 1 overall pick because the Pelicans have the worst record. The Pels have actually started winning games, and so now they are 25-47. But Grizzlies want to make sure they don't accidentally jump ahead of the Pelicans. They don't want to win too many games. They need to find a way to lose some, and maybe they can catch and pass the Dallas Mavericks in the standings. All right, let's talk a little bit about Lakers Magic. What a game there. That was unbelievable. It was a brutal game, back and forth. Lots of stuff going on. Yeah, that's right. 4 players kicked out of the game. in that game, that fight that we saw between the Wizards and the Thunder. But the Lakers ultimately get the win over the Magic. That's going to matter a ton in the standings. In fact, let's take a peek at that. And the Suns' loss will also matter in the standings. Well, first, let's take a look at how it happened. So Lakers down 2, just 2 point something seconds left, 2.6. And the Lakers have the ball inbounding along the baseline. LeBron James, the play before the initial inbound play, got LeBron the ball right at the rim. Paolo Banchero came through, very clearly fouled LeBron, and it should have been 2 free throws for LeBron James. Actually worked out in the Lakers' favor that it was not free throws for LeBron James. The referees missed the call, and so now it was baseline out of bounds to the Lakers. They ruled it out off of Paolo Banchero rather than a foul on Banchero. And take a look at what happened. The inbound, Marcus Smart finds an open Luke Kennard for 3. The best three-point shooter in the NBA percentage-wise drains it. And the Lakers get a 1-point lead. They go from down 2 to up 1, and they win the game. LeBron James with the cut, drew 2 defenders with him. That created the opening for Luke Kennard all by himself. Nobody on Kennard. Kennard got involved in a screen action here. LeBron diving to the rim. Both defenders, look at that. Both defenders go with LeBron James. Kennard open, ball game. What a big-time shot there for Luke Kennard. So what does this mean in the standings, especially now in the Western Conference that saw the Phoenix Suns just lose to the Milwaukee Bucks? Devin Booker missed a couple shots right at the end, and the Suns lose to the Bucks. So let's take a peek here. So the Phoenix Suns have now lost 5 in a row. So this is what this does. Yes, that is Bill and Stu that were sitting there. That video was from Mike Trudell, who was seated right behind Billy Mack and Stu Lance. That was his vantage point there. So what this all means, Houston, who we're going to talk about in just a minute, they won at the buzzer as well. And I'm going to show you guys that in just a second. But you've got the Lakers now 10 games back. They're 2.5 games up on Houston. Houston won tonight, a must-win game for the Rockets just to stay in striking distance to the Lakers. The Denver Nuggets are 3 games back of the Lakers for the 3 seed. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 3 games back. But remember, the Lakers have the tiebreaker over all 3 of those teams. So there's really add a game, essentially, onto how far back these teams are. But look what happened now. The Phoenix Suns have lost 5 in a row. Rough time to go on a losing streak right now. The Phoenix Suns want to get out of that 7 seed, and instead they've lost to Toronto, Boston, Minnesota, a direct playoff opponent here, Minnesota, San Antonio, and now Milwaukee. Look, Toronto, Boston, Minnesota, San Antonio, those are all playoff teams. Those are all quality teams. But to lose to Milwaukee tonight at home, a Giannis Antetokounmpo-less Milwaukee Bucks side, absolutely brutal. What this means now is for the Lakers, the Rockets, the Nuggets, and the Wolves, whose primary goal was don't be 7th, right? Don't fall into the play-in. It is now all but impossible. Not impossible, but very, very unlikely with 11 games remaining that the Phoenix Suns are going to be able to get out of the 7 seed. I don't think they're in danger of dropping to the 8 seed, which, by the way, the Clippers moved back up into the 8 seed. They were down in the 9 seed earlier. The Portland Trailblazers were in the 8 seed. They're going to be neck and neck right now, battling for positioning. The Clippers have the tiebreaker right now over the Blazers. We'll talk more about them in just a minute. But the Phoenix Suns now looks like they're pretty well stuck in that 7 seed. Just going to be really tough to make up that card. 4 games back with this many games, with 11 games to play. That's a lot of ground for the Phoenix Suns to try to make up. So most likely the Lakers, the Rockets, the Nuggets, and the Wolves are now competing amongst themselves for 3 through 6. And Phoenix is all but locked into that 7 seed. So that is not what Phoenix wanted. Nobody in that group wants to be 7, because here's what's going to happen now. So Phoenix, let's say everything stays as is, nothing changes from here on out in terms of the standings. Phoenix would then play the Clippers in the first round of the play-in. The Blazers would play the Warriors in the play-in. The loser of Suns Clippers, which that would actually be a really good game. The loser of Suns Clippers would then play the winner of Blazers and Warriors. The loser of Blazers and Warriors would go home. The winner of Blazers and Warriors would play the loser of Suns and Clippers. The winner of that game would go on and be the 8th seed. The winner of Suns and Clippers initially would be the 7th seed. So the Suns would either, if they stay in 7, would either get into a first-round matchup with San Antonio, which would actually kind of be a lot of fun, or they would fall to the 8th seed because they would lose the first game to, let's say, the Clippers, and then they would win the second game and be the 8th seed, and then they would have a first-round matchup with the Thunder, which would not be so great, or they would just be bounced altogether if they lost 2 in a row. So that's you do not want to be 7, 8, 9, or 10, and that's looking like where Phoenix is going to be stuck. Yikes. Not a great spot to be in. Okay, let's get into, I do have a super chat question here. Teddy, I appreciate the super chat, Teddy. Are we sure that Udoka isn't the next Mark Jackson instead of Steve Kerr? How he's handling Reed, not making him a full starter, completely set H-Town up for failure this year. Well, I mean, this team was desperate for, and let's talk about that Heat Rockets game. The finish, insane. Another buzzer beater. So the Rockets finally went ahead and brought Tari Eason off the bench. He's been really struggling. Like, we're talking Jake LaRavia level struggling from behind the arc with Tari Eason. Moved him to the bench and put Reed Shepherd in the starting lineup. Played Reed 37 minutes. He had 14 assists. This Rockets team needs shot creation in the half court. The problem is Reed gets so torched defensively, and Ime Udoka is a defense-first head coach. So it's nails on a chalkboard to him to have Reed Shepherd out there getting absolutely eviscerated every play. So that's the problem. Even though they need Reed Shepherd's offensive skill set, and it's part of why I'm shocked the Rockets didn't go add something at the trade deadline. Go add a playmaker. Go add a guard. Somebody that can run the offense, because clearly Kevin Durant running the offense in crunch time wasn't working. And you're going to see it doesn't work again tonight, and Amen Thompson bails them out. But Reed Shepherd is a very talented player. He's a very talented shooter, provides floor spacing for them. I don't understand it either. I don't think it makes sense when you've got this kind of defensive talent. Amen Thompson, I get Alperen Şengün is not very fleet of foot, and you put him on the floor with Reed Shepherd, that's a problem. But if you have Tari Eason out there with Alperen Şengün, with Amen Thompson, you have another guy who's not shooting well. Now the paint is really packed against you. I do think that conceptually they've got a problem in that Amen Thompson took a step back as a three-point shooter this year. He was 1 of 1 from 3. Rather than build upon his 28-ish% from 3 last season, he instead slid back to about 22-ish% this year. So rather than jumping up to say, 32, 33% in an ideal world, where he's at least respectable, you at least have to care that he's behind the three-point line. Instead, it's gone the other way with Amen Thompson, and now teams can just completely leave him alone. And Alperen Şengün gets left alone as well behind the three-point line. So nobody wants to worry about either one of those guys. So the Rockets have some problems with their roster construction right now, but putting Reed Shepherd on the floor makes sense because, number one, he gives you shooting that you need for floor spacing, but he also gives you shot creation, as evidenced by 14 assists tonight. And this is a team that really grinds to a halt when they have to play in the half court. So I think while it's not ideal to have a defender like him out there on the floor, it is a necessary evil for these Houston Rockets. So I've been surprised as well that they haven't used Reed Shepherd. But take a look at this. Take a look at this. This is Houston down 1 against a team they very much need a win over, and that is Miami. By the way, Miami also badly needs a win. We're going to take a look at the East. Both Miami and Orlando took a huge step back tonight. All right, take a look at this. This is the final play. This is the buzzer beater here. Houston and Miami. Take a look at this. Here it is. Here's the inbound. Thompson inbounding. Where are they going to go? Of course, they're going to get that ball ultimately to Kevin Durant, right? Okay, here we go. 4 seconds on the clock. Check out KD. The drive has to double pump, just throws it up. Amen Thompson flying in, tips it in at the buzzer for the game winner, saves the day for the Houston Rockets. They would have been in big, big trouble in terms of catching the Lakers, in terms of staying out of the 5 seed or the 6 seed, something like that, had Amen Thompson not saved the day. Look, he's the inbounder. Don't forget about the guy inbounding the ball. You track him all the way across the court. Nobody ever picked him up. He walked right past Tyler Hero and then tips it in off the miss from Durant. But look at the defense from Miami. Look at the defense from Miami. Look at the shot they forced Kevin Durant into. Not only did Durant got to a spot that he wanted to go to, right here, the pull-up jumper, but look at that contest that made him double pump on it, and then Amen Thompson saves the day. That was huge for Miami. So let's take a look at what that ultimately does for the Rockets and the Heat in the standings. So the Heat suffer a bad loss. The Rockets stay a half a game up on the Denver Nuggets, a half a game up on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Nuggets and Wolves have one more loss than the Houston Rockets do. But take a look at what happens now to Miami in the East. Oh my goodness. Look at this race. Toronto, Atlanta, Philly, Orlando, Miami, all of them competing for 5 through 9 in the Eastern Conference. And look at this, 39 wins, 39 wins, 39 wins, 38 wins, 38 wins. That's all that's separating these teams in the win column. Now we look at the loss column, and it looks a lot better for Toronto, right? 30 losses for Toronto, 32, 32, 32, and then 33 for Miami. So that's really the separator. We keep an eye on the loss column for the teams that are at the top. The teams at the bottom, we keep an eye on the win column. So you've got the loss column shows more separation, with Toronto having a pretty big edge there for the 5 seed, whereas and then Miami hurt themselves by losing this game at the buzzer tonight. They're now the 9 seed. Earlier, Miami was the 6 seed, though. Like we could get deep into tiebreaker hell with these teams, because there's a good chance Atlanta, Philly, Orlando, Miami, they could all wind up with right around the same record, and things could get really, really scary there. But look at this. 4 losses in a row for Orlando now. They could not afford to lose tonight's game to the Lakers, yet they did. The Lakers getting that big shot at the buzzer by Luke Kennard, and then Miami could not afford to lose that game to the Rockets, but they did. Both of them losing on buzzer beaters effectively. Amen Thompson getting the tip in at the buzzer. That's going to hurt those two teams big time in this race. But how the East will finish up is anybody's guess. All 5 of those teams competing for 2 playoff spots, the 5th seed and the 6th seed. Nobody wants to be 7, 8, 9, or 10. And remember, even if you're 9, guess what you get? Right now, you'd be getting the Hornets. Nobody wants that. I don't want the Hornets are the scariest 10 seed ever. Maybe not ever, but one of the scariest 10 seeds. I got to think back to some of those years when it was like Golden State in there. But the Hornets are a very scary 10 seed. And you look, the Hornets have won 3 in a row. They're only 2 games back of the 6th seed. The Hornets could bump the Miami Heat into 10th. The Hornets could bump the Orlando Magic. I wouldn't put them past the Hornets. Look, 11 games left, but I wouldn't put them past the Hornets from moving up to the 6th seed. They can very well get themselves into the mix here. And that's when we start going and looking at remaining strength of schedule. We start looking at remaining strength of schedule with how tight things are here. You look, who's got the most difficult schedule remaining in the NBA? It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think they have to worry too much. I don't think San Antonio's catching up to them, but we'll take a look at that in just a minute. It could happen. Could. Memphis, they probably love that they have a difficult schedule remaining. Boston in the East, that I think hurts their attempts to catch a now Cade Cunningham-less Detroit. But who's got the easy schedules? Well, Atlanta has a very difficult schedule from here on out. That's not ideal for them. Philly has a difficult schedule. Who has the easy schedules? Brooklyn, Portland. Could Portland move back up into that 8 seed? Cleveland, Sacramento, Golden State. Could they get out of the 10 seed? Houston, a super easy schedule. Does that help them try to track down the Lakers? Oh, but wait, the Lakers have the 21st most difficult schedule. So that's an easy schedule for them too, relatively, right? Toronto, though, we just saw them in that mix. They've got an easy-ish schedule. Orlando has an easy-ish schedule from here on out. So that could come into play when we're looking at these standings. Now, Boston right now 4 games back from Detroit. Boston's got a difficult schedule. Detroit lost Cade Cunningham with that collapsed lung. But I do think that while Boston maybe can make a push with 11 games to play, I think Boston has 12 games left because of the math. Actually, I think Detroit has 12 as well because that's how math works. But even so, the 4 games is a big gap to make up with that little time left. The Knicks, could they catch the Celtics? Maybe, but 2 games in the loss column is a lot at this time of the year. We'll see if the Knicks can catch up to Boston. Cleveland, you've got a 2-game gap as well between Cleveland and the Knicks, so that might be kind of difficult for them to catch up there. But it's going to be a wild finish in the East. Like 1 through 10 could all move in the Eastern Conference. That'll be something to watch. And then in the West, San Antonio, 3 games back. San Antonio's won 5 in a row at this point, and it's hard when the team you're trying to catch just doesn't lose. I mean, look, no surprise, but the Spurs beat the Pacers tonight. The Spurs beat the Pacers. No surprise there. The Clippers solidifying their standing a little bit. They're in a fight, but they beat the Mavs. The 76ers beat the Jazz, which is big for the 76ers and the Jazz, who frankly need to lose. And then the Bucks beat the Suns. But a crazy night around the league because we had all of these races shift to a degree. Again, the Clippers were down in the 9 seed when the night started. The Miami Heat were up in the standings. They were up, I think they were the 6th seed going into this game, and now they're all the way down at the 9 seed. They could get caught by Charlotte. These games, there is so much that's going to shift or has the potential to shift over the next few weeks as we get closer to the end of the NBA season. Again, most teams have 11 or 12 games left. Whew, this is going to be absolutely bonkers. How far are we away from the Spurs? I'm assuming you mean the Lakers. They're 7 games back. They're not catching them. That's not going to happen with the remaining time. So that won't happen. All right, let me get into some of your questions, your comments, all of that. See how you guys are doing in here. Just wanted to get into all of the insanity that we've seen happening around the NBA tonight. Rockets need to sign Danhausen. Well, that would be very nice, very evil of them to do. And if they don't sign him, are they cursed? Is that it? If they don't sign Danhausen, are they cursed? Maybe that tip in wouldn't have gone in if they were cursed. Just saying. Somebody asked, will Luka's tech get rescinded? The Lakers have reportedly already requested for that tech to be rescinded. We will see if it happens or not. So if anybody didn't see what happened, or you were not a Lakers fan, weren't paying attention to that game, Luka Doncic got into it with Goga Bitadze and picked up a technical foul for them kind of going back and forth at each other. That was Luka's 16th technical of the season, which means as of right now, he is suspended for Monday's game against the Detroit Pistons for the Lakers. The Lakers will petition the NBA, will request that the technical be rescinded. We'll see what ultimately happens there. But as of this moment, Luka is suspended for Monday's game against Detroit. Now, Luka said that Bitadze said he was going to F his family, right? Luka reacted in a way that was very not the norm for him, who is very known. Luka is very known for trash talk. In fact, ESPN just released an article on it. So let's take a look at that. In fact, let's take a look at that together. Here, this is Dave McMenamin, literally just seconds ago, released this. Let's take a look at this together, and we'll see what Dave knows. The Lakers have already appealed the NBA to rescind Luka Doncic's technical foul, while Doncic and Orlando Magic center Goga Bitadze offered differing accounts of what led to the tech being called. So Luka said that Goga said, "I'm going to F your family." And Luka, the way he responded, suggested whatever was said was something very out of the ordinary for NBA trash talk, right? He is one who is very inviting of trash talk, very welcoming, and plays better when he's getting engaged in trash talk. The way he reacted, going to the official and telling him something, whatever he said to him, that is very out of character for Luka. So you knew something was said, or Luka at least thought something was said that very much crossed the line. Goga, for his part afterwards, said he did not say that and that he has respect for Luka and would not say that. So this is a he said type situation right now. Luka said he's hoping it gets rescinded. His teammates, they know they have their back, but hopefully it does get rescinded. He feels like he let his teammates down today. Batadze said Doncic cursed at him in Serbian first, and Batadze repeated the same curse back to him. I have all the respect for Luka and what he has done, and I really respect everybody's family. Where I come from, it's really sacred, and we really respect each other's families, and I would never directly say that. He just said some inappropriate things in the Serbian language, which I played in Serbia. I understand. I don't know if he knew I understood what he said, so I just said it back, and it was nothing towards his family or anybody. His family, I really truly respect them. Batadze said he said something about my mother, which is really inappropriate. We don't say that stuff during the game, so I just said whatever he told me. So Batadze is saying I repeated what Luka said. In the heat of the moment, I heard what he said, and I felt like I had to respond the same way. I do wonder if in a loud arena, could Goga have thought he heard Luka say that, but Luka was saying something slightly different from that? I don't know. I don't speak Slovenian. I'm not sure. But Doncic and Batadze were both assessed technical fouls. That was the pool reporter after the game. Okay. So now the NBA is going to that's a fair point too. There's cultural differences with words and all that. Now for the NBA, they're going to have to decide whether or not to rescind that technical. And if they don't, then Luka is suspended for Monday's game. Now from there, you are once you do get that suspended, you get that 16th technical, you don't get suspended the next technical, but every other technical from there. So if you were to pick up, so let's say this technical stands, Luka will be suspended for Monday's game. If he then picks up a 17th technical, not suspended. An 18th technical, then he is. 19th technical, not suspended. 20th technical, suspended again. So every other technical from there on out, he'd be getting suspended. So that's the way that could go. Somebody said Groska. Rumors have it Goga has to turn off his comments due to the online. Oh, I'm sure there are a lot of Luka fans out there. I'm sure Goga's probably hearing about it on social media. I'm sure that's a thing. Luka playing like 2017 Kenny Omega right now. Luka's he's been phenomenal. He's been so good. So good. I mean, he had 60 just the other day. At least he'll get some rest. I mean, it's a way to force some rest, I suppose. The Lakers road trip, they've got Detroit and then Indiana, and then they head home for a couple of matchups with the Wizards and the Nets. 15 techs is pathetic for Luka, needs to control himself. Yeah, I mean, I've said it for a while. I think over the last few weeks, Luka with 15 techs has actually been a much better version of Luka because in part, he's just getting back defensively because he knows he can't talk to the refs without getting worried about getting suspended. So him picking up a tech in this game was, you knew it was going to be tough for him to make it all the way throughout the rest of the season without picking one up, but he had been doing really well. He had been doing really well at just getting back, not complaining to the officials too much. I hope that continues because, frankly, I think he's a better player. I think he's a more enjoyable player when he's doing this, when he is more reserved with the officials, because nobody wants to see a guy complain to the refs all the time. Are there times when he's right? Absolutely. There's times when he's right. But the problem is whether he's right or wrong, if he's stopping to complain to officials, he's hanging his teammates out to dry. So as much as he's talking about, I feel bad that I let my teammates down. Well, dude, you let your teammates down every time you stop to complain to an official because you're making them play 5-on-4 defensively. That's also letting your teammates down. And I'm not trying to be too critical of Luka. He's great. He's phenomenal. He might be the MVP. But this version of Luka, not just because of the scoring, but because he's not been able to complain to officials, I think has been the best version. I think this has been the best version of Luka. That's been awesome. So my hope is that what he's been doing the last few weeks, regardless of his technical foul situation, my hope is that this stays. This sticks. This version of Luka, even if he gets screwed on some calls, This is a better Luka. This is a better basketball player. He's not better on the court. He's also more fun to watch like this when he's not complaining because he's worried about getting suspended. So I've really enjoyed Luka the last few weeks. He's obviously been on a tear. He's playing back. I think he's playing better than anybody in the NBA right now. That is certainly a big piece of it. But he's also running back defensively. By the way, he's defending very well, too. Defending at a higher level than I think a lot of people will give him credit for because he has this reputation as being a bad defender. But he's defending very well. He's getting back on defense. He's not talking to the officials nearly as much. The 15th technical foul thing has been a godsend for Luka and for the Lakers. And I hope that he realizes that. I hope he sees how different it's been over the last few weeks and that he doesn't need to be on the verge of getting suspended to act like this every game. Because this version of Luka is awesome. He's incredible anyway, but this is like a whole other level of Luka. He better be ready for this. Playoff basketball will be physical. Yep. Yeah, it does get physical. It does. What if the Rockets, Denver, and Wolves finish in a 3-team tie? Okay. So that's a good question. So I actually did take a look at this. So Denver has a 3-1 edge over Minnesota. Minnesota right now is 0-1 against Houston, but they have 2 games left. So we don't know exactly what that would look like until those 2 games are played. They have 2 games left against each other. That'll determine the tiebreaker. If Houston wins one of the 2, Houston has the tiebreaker. If Minnesota wins both, similar to the Lakers situation with the Rockets, if Minnesota wins both, they will have the tiebreaker. Denver has the tiebreaker over Houston as well. So Denver's got the tiebreaker there. However, the other thing to look at is by NBA tiebreaker rules. The way it works is that you take the record against all the teams that are in this grouping, that are in this 3-team tie, and whoever has the best winning percentage against those, that's the team that moves forward. Now, if all 3 are tied record-wise, first you just look at the record. If one team has a better record, obviously they get the higher seed, right? Then in a 3-team tie, normally in like a 2-team tie, you would look at head-to-head. If it's, let's say, 2-2 head-to-head, then you would look at either your division record for in-division teams or your conference record for non-in-division teams. So if it was the Lakers and the Rockets who aren't in the same division, then it would go to the conference record instead of the division record. In the case of a 3-team tie, you're going to go head-to-head. Then you're going to take your combined record against all those teams, and whoever has the highest winning percentage so if Houston's winning percentage is 50% against Denver and Minnesota, they've won half their games. If the Nuggets have won 65% against those teams, then they would have the edge. If Minnesota's won 45%, it would be ranked according to that. Well, actually, it would go, you'd name one winner, and then it would go to the head-to-head between the remaining 2 teams. So for right now, Denver has a really big edge because Denver currently is 6-2 against these other teams. Meanwhile, Minnesota is right now, they've won once against them. Yeah. They're 1-4 against them with 2 games outstanding. Houston is 2 and how many have they played there? 1-4. Yeah, Houston's 2 for 5. So Denver would be the team that would get, if all 3 of them are tied right now, Denver would get the 4 seed. Then it would be down to Houston and Minnesota, which is going to be determined by the final 2 games that they have left. It gets complicated. I know we've been getting all these tiebreakers, but that's the way it happens. Need Jake LaRavia to hit a game winner right now? Man, Jake LaRavia and Tari Eason are fighting for like who needs who most needs a big time like clutch shot at this point. Who needs that the most? Give us your final standings. How many each team in the top of the West will have? I think it finishes OKC. They have what? 11 games left. I'm going to say they win 8 of them. I'm going to say OKC finishes with 64 wins. I'll say San Antonio finishes with, I think they also win 8 of their remaining 11. So let's say they finish with 61 wins. So 64, 61. I'm going to say the Lakers get to, they have 11 games left. They might take the last 2 games off if they're solidified there. Let's say the Lakers get to 53. So they get to 53 wins. Let's be optimistic there. They get to 53. Houston still has a bit of a difficult schedule. They got to win those games against Minnesota. I'm going to say, just for fun, I'm going to say all 4 of those teams tie. Let's say they all tie at 50. Let's say they all tie at 50. They each win 7 of their remaining games, and they all tie at 50. That'd be fun. Then it would be Denver 4, depending on what would happen with the Houston and Minnesota series. That would put either Houston and Minnesota 5 and 6. It would just depend on, does Minnesota beat Houston twice? If so, Minnesota would be the 5 seed and Houston the 6. Or does Houston pick up 1 win in the 2 games they have remaining? I think Phoenix finishes 7. I think the Clippers still finish 8. The Blazers are right behind them, but I think the Clippers do finish 8. And a Suns-Clippers first-round play-in would be interesting. Golden State, there's too much of a gap. I think they'll finish 10. But if Steph Curry's back, I do think they get past the Blazers. And then Golden State against either the Clippers or the Suns in the final play-in game would be really, really interesting. So that's what I've got. Oh, no. Went to the Pistons-Lakers game when LeBron got ejected for the Stewart thing. Now I'm going to Monday's game and Luka is suspended. You're not the first person I've heard from tonight that has said they've got tickets to Monday's game and they're so disappointed that Luka's not going to be able to play. I do this after Lakers Nation. Tonight I am. Tonight, it was early enough tonight, and so many things were happening. I was watching a little bit of the Suns and the Bucks and seeing how that was finishing, and there was the Amin Thompson thing. There were just so many different things that happened. I'm like, I don't want to wait till tomorrow. I know I was live already for like 4.5 hours or whatever, but I wanted to jump on and talk about some of the other things that are breaking down in the standings and the way this is all going. Watch out for Portland. They might get into top 6. No, they can't. I mean, you would have to. So Portland, right now, they are 8 games back of Minnesota. 8 games back with 11 games to play is a ton. He's not. You would need Minnesota or Denver to basically lose out. In addition to Phoenix, the Clippers, Portland, Phoenix, the Clippers, those 2 teams would also have to lose game because you got to jump 3 teams in order to do that. Yeah, Portland's not moving up to 6. The top 6, yeah, Sky Falcon says top 6 is set. That's the most likely scenario. I'm sure somebody that's a mathematician has the percentages on this of who's going to finish where. Maybe there's a site that does it. I'm not familiar with one right now, but most likely the top 6 are the top 6 now that there's a 4-game gap between Minnesota and Phoenix. And then it's just the order of 3 through 6 that I think we're waiting for. Who will be the favorite for LA Lakers versus Detroit? I would imagine it'll be very close because Detroit is at home. You get a 1.5 edge just by being at home. I think Detroit, my guess would be it'll be Detroit minus 3.5. That's my guess. If Luka's not playing, because odds makers will look at it as no Cade, but also no Luka. The Lakers struggle against very physical defenses. Detroit gave them problems earlier on in the season, and Detroit still has some guys who could score the basketball for them. Jalen Duran could be a big problem. So I think it'll be maybe minus 2.5, something like that. That's my guess to what it would be if Luka is out for that one. Who do you want to play first round for the Lakers? Who would I prefer them to play? I'm assuming you mean for the Lakers. My preferred finish would be Lakers 3, Nuggets 4, Wolves 5, Rockets 6. That would be my preferred finish for the standings. And then that would put the Lakers into a 3-6 matchup with home court against Houston, and then likely playing San Antonio after San Antonio deals with the winner of the first game of the play-in, either Phoenix or the Clippers in this scenario. And then it would get Lakers Spurs round 2 if the Lakers got past it. Houston can beat the Lakers. Not saying they can't. They definitely can. Houston's good, but that would be my preferred path for the Lakers. Houston, Denver, Minnesota, all of them present challenges. All of them have the ability to beat the Lakers. Not saying they will, but they're like, if it were Lakers, I don't know, Lakers, Blazers, round 1. Okay. Lakers are getting by that, right? Lakers, Rockets, Lakers, Nuggets, Lakers, Wolves, like that's a series. That's a series. I think the Lakers will be the favorites. I think if Luka plays, the Lakers will be the favorites. Yeah, Denver does the magnet ball thing. That's what I don't like. I don't want to mess with the whole magnet ball thing. The Lakers can absolutely beat the Nuggets. It took some crazy shots to do it last time, but they can beat the Nuggets. But the Denver does that thing where nobody misses. They just all hit shots. You've been live all day. I was live starting at 4:00 at game time for the Lakers, and then I was live till, I don't know. I was live for like 4.5 hours at that point, but I didn't do anything before that. Normally I would do something before, but there wasn't a lot going on around the league, so I didn't do anything earlier on in the day. Yeah, they are going to try to get the tech rescinded, but is it going to happen? I don't know. What's the horror movie scenario for the Lakers? Like that would be falling into the 4 seed or the 5 seed, falling to 5, I think, and being in a 4-5 matchup with Denver. And then if you survive Denver, then you'd be on the same side of the bracket as OKC in round 2. That would be the worst case scenario, I think. Falling into the 5, so getting Denver not having home court, which isn't out of the question. It could happen. It's not likely, but it could happen. But that would be the worst case right now. I think would be falling into 5, because even if you fell to 6, you'd still be in the 3-6 matchup and on the opposite side of the bracket from OKC. But Denver in round 1 on the road, then OKC being your path. They wouldn't be the favorites against San Antonio. They wouldn't be the favorites against OKC, obviously. But the preferred path would be like Houston with home court on round 1 and then San Antonio in round 2. I have tickets to a Detroit game. What a bummer. Luka isn't playing as of right now. Yeah, I wonder if the value of those tickets dropped. I wasn't looking at ticket sites, but I would assume they probably did. Do I think Houston pays Amin Thompson the max? I don't think so. Because of the shooting. Because he's so deficient there right now. And it's like they're at a point where if they just don't think the shooting is going to come around, they might have to make a difficult decision between Amin Thompson and Alperen Sengun. It's hard to have 2 guys on the floor that don't shoot the 3 enough for teams to respect them. Now, Amin Thompson, could he get that max deal on his next deal? Maybe, but it could also be that the Rockets just say, hey, let's prove it. Let's prove it and see what happens, next year. Then he hits restricted free agency. They could go that route. He's a very good defensive player. He's an incredible like when you watch Amin Thompson on the floor, it's like he's moving at a different speed than everyone else. Like and not even just like he's fast. It's like you're listening to a podcast at 1x versus 1.5x or something, right? Where he just moves faster. It just goes faster than everybody out there on the floor. It's like he's 20% faster than everyone else, like to a point where it doesn't look natural. You know what I mean? It almost looks like superhuman. He's so quick out there on the floor, and he does so many good things defensively. He's a monster on the boards. He's very good. Just can't shoot. And the hope was that his shooting was going to take a step forward. And there was some reason to think that he might. And it just didn't happen. Didn't happen this year. Now, maybe it does eventually, but you look, and he was 14% from three his rookie year. And if you're a Rockets fan, you go, okay, but then he's 28% the next year. Now, it's on low volume. He really doesn't shoot threes. Okay, but 28%, maybe he'll get to the low 30s or something this year. He went back the other way. Now he's 22% this season and still low volume. That's tough to have on the floor at the same time as a player who, as another player who doesn't shoot the three in Alperen Şengün. So that's tough. Hypothetically, LeBron takes a veteran minimum next year. Who do you want the Lakers to go after? I think you would do something with, you do something in either a sign and trade for some of the RFAs, which would be like a Peyton Watson, Walker Kessler, somebody like that. You could do a sign and trade. Now that's easier said than done. Or if you're looking at free agency, could you stack up a few players that you can go get? You know, I'm not saying he's the best player, but a Tobias Harris, maybe a John Collins, somebody like that. You're really looking for wing help and guard help. Maybe you're looking for a long-term answer at the starting spot at the big, and that's where you can go after like a Walker Kessler or somebody like that. But there's not a lot out there in free agency right now. In fact, the top two free agents are already Lakers. It's LeBron and Austin Reeves. So if LeBron were to take a minimum, he would have to see like, hey, there's a real plan to spend this 50-ish million or whatever in cap space and really add to this team. And on top of that, you got to factor in what happens with Marcus Smart. He's been pretty critical for this team. Let's assume he opts out. You got to spend some money to bring him back. What about Luke Kennard? He's going to be a free agent. There's not even a player option on it to hope he picks up. You're going to have to pay him. So that's going to start cutting into that $50 million. Now, if LeBron's really willing to take a veteran minimum, though, they will also get the benefit of the room exception, which is, let's just say, to make it an easy number, it's $50 million is how much cap space the Lakers have. Once they spend all of that, they then get another $9 million to spend. So it's like you get that little bit of wiggle room. So you spend, let's say they divide that $50 million up between three players. Okay. Spend all that. Three players in, boom. Okay. Now you've got $9 million left over. Maybe you spend that money on, I don't know, you spend it on Marcus Smart a little bit, spend some of it on, if LeBron's really going to take a minimum, which is, I don't think that's super realistic, but let's say Dreamland, he does that. You go get John Collins to round out your power forward rotation, something like that. You go get whoever, right? You go do it. You absorb Jalen Suggs, let's say, which I'm not even saying is the best idea, but you absorb Jalen Suggs' salary and you take money off Orlando's books. And okay, now you've added some pieces. Spend all that. Now you got $9 million left over. Hey, Luke Kennard, we got the $9 million room exception. Austin's already set his $20 million cap holds on the book. As soon as we make our other signings, we're going to add him. We're going to give him whatever it is, 30 million, 40 million, whatever number that he comes in at, right? Doesn't matter. Spending power is going to be the same. LeBron's going to sign to a vet minimum after that. Luke Kennard, we got $9 million left over. We got $9 million left of that room exception. We'll do 3 years, 30 million, and we'll use that $9 million to get you that. You want to do that? And then you go from there, or whatever. 2 years, 20 million, whatever you're going to do. Something along those lines with Kennard. So you do have that extra wiggle room after you spend your cap space. It's unfamiliar territory, really, for the Lakers to be a cap space team like this. It's been a long time since they've been a cap space team. By the way, one of the funnier things, too, that's going to happen because they're going to be a cap space team, and I don't know if there'll be a public release on this, but they're going to renounce a number of players whose cap holds they still have. This doesn't mean they are counting against their books. These are just players they still have the rights to, that once they are a cap space, that when you're above the cap, it doesn't make any sense. You don't have to do any of it because if you don't sign the player, they don't count against the cap for you. But if you are a cap space team, you don't technically have access to all of your cap space because some of these players that have been sitting around on you've had their rights have been eating up or would eat up some of your cap space. So anyway, they're going to have to renounce some old familiar names. Take a look at this. These are the players the Lakers will have to renounce when they are a cap space team. Dion Waiters, the Lakers still have his rights. Markieff Morris, the Lakers have his rights. Dwight Howard, who retired, they have his rights. Wayne Ellington, the Duke. Jared Dudley, he's a coach. He hasn't played in years. Avery Bradley, Carmelo Anthony. Those are the players the Lakers are going to renounce when they become a cap space team. And that's not out of the ordinary. That's very normal. That's very normal for teams to have players like that they just, because there's no benefit to renouncing them while you're above the cap. Doesn't change anything. They're not counting against your salaries or anything like that. Doesn't change anything. But once you drop below the cap, if you actually want to have access to all that cap space, you got to go through and renounce all of these guys. So, yeah, I mean, Dwight Howard is 40. Jared Dudley is 40. Carmelo Anthony is 41. They're going to renounce all those guys. It'll be kind of funny. We don't have Dwight Howard's bird rights anymore. Well, I mean, he retired, but technically they have the rights to sign him. And as far as like LeBron's not going to play for a minimum, I agree. I think it's very unlikely, but you never know in this crazy world. What's Cam Thomas's expected value for his next contract? Probably a minimum. I'm sure the Nets are happy they didn't give him what he asked for last summer. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They're going, this is why. This is why. Cam Thomas played 16 minutes tonight, had 7 points. He's not a bad player. He's not a serious player when you look at the way that he plays. He can score the basketball at a high level, I think, but yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of interest in him. He needed to prove that he's more than just a veteran scorer, six-man microwave type guy. That's what he needed to prove in order to get to the money that he wanted. Because he looked at the counting stats and said, look, I'm putting up, 20 and whatever. The guys that put up those kind of numbers get paid. But the NBA saw I'm talking about teams around the league, saw the context with which he was putting up those numbers and said, yeah, but that's not, you're probably at your best a bench scorer and you don't defend. So it's hard to find usefulness for a player like, at least enough to pay big bucks for that player. So I think Cam Thomas is probably sitting somewhere in that veteran minimum, maybe a little bit more. He'll be on some type of prove it deal, probably a 1-year deal, something like that for next year. Didn't work out for him. And the offers he was getting in restricted free agency from the Nets were not good anyway. I mean, they were very low up, pretty clear. Like the Nets were saying, yeah, we don't believe in you. How does the expansion draft work? So we don't know. I mean, it's been a long time since the NBA has expanded, but the last time they expanded, the way that it worked was that every team could protect 8 players and leave the rest of their roster unprotected, which would mean the expansion teams could select a player that is unprotected on their roster. Now, that did not apply to free agents. Free agents did not count in that conversation, but you could protect up to 8 players. And if once an expansion team, so let's say there's 2 expansion teams, let's say it's Vegas and Seattle. Let's say Vegas, it's their pick, and they take a player from the Lakers. Okay, the Lakers are now off the board. No other Laker can be selected. The most a team can lose in an expansion draft is 1 player. So then Seattle, the Sonics would have to pick, and they would get to pick from 29 teams, and they would look at the protected players of 29 teams and not 30, because you cannot lose more than one player. Those were the rules the last time the NBA expanded. Will those be the rules again this time? We'll see. But that's effectively how it worked. And the cool thing was, what teams could do is they could take a player that they feel like is a bad contract, and they could try to incentivize. They could say, hey, look, Vegas, we'll give you a pair of second-round picks if you pick this guy. Pick this guy for us, and we'll give you a pair of second-round picks. Take them into your salary cap space. So that's another cool angle to it, where these teams can actually get draft capital for picking players that the teams that are leaving players unprotected want them to take, because they're trying to get those salaries off their books. So that's another wrinkle to the expansion draft. Is going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get into it. We'll get into it here on the Basketball Bulletin. We'll get into it, of course, on Lakers Nation, but also we'll go deep dives on the front office show. But yeah, that's the way that works. So that's a lot of fun too. It's a good time. Most of the players that get picked aren't top tier players or anything like that, but it's still fun to go through all of it and see the strategy that can be unleashed in it. Mitchell Robinson's a good pick for the center spot. He'll be a free agent. Are the Lakers more like last year's Lakers or last year's Pacers with all these close wins and drama? Pacers makes sense, just the way they're winning these games. But the Pacers were so hyper aggressive all game long, flying all over the place. The Lakers aren't like that. So maybe a mix between the two. Like Halliburton did otherworldly things. Luka is obviously doing even more than that. But this year's Lakers, I think, I'll put it this way. I think this year's Lakers right now, the way they're playing right now, beats last year's Lakers. If they were to play each other, this year's Lakers would beat last year's Lakers. Do I think MPJ stays with the Nets this summer? I think his value isn't as much as it was ahead of the trade deadline. So, yes, I think he hangs around at least one more year, and they look to move him maybe at next year's trade deadline. But if the right offer comes along, the Nets should very much be willing to move on. Do you think the Lakers can really win it all? They'd have to beat Denver, then San Antonio, OKC, then Boston. Do they have enough depth? The depth it'll get even worse come playoff time, because some of the guys that, maybe are playable in a regular season game right now won't be playable come playoff time. So can they win it all? Maybe they are contender adjacent. They still have a shot at it, but are they in the same tier as the very best? No. I don't have them in the same tier as OKC. Don't have them in the same tier as San Antonio. And I don't think there's anything they can really do over the final 11 games to change that, unless they were just to beat the crap out of OKC, both times they played them or something. But I think they are just below those teams right now, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, they don't have the same kind of depth, certainly as OKC, but even as San Antonio, they don't have that kind of depth. There's no question. Do the Lakers re-sign Rui? It's a good question. They might. I mean, they could. The question is Rui's now coming off the bench, hasn't been super productive. Technically, if right now, right this second, the Lakers could sign him to an extension. He's extension eligible right now. And he will be all the way until June 30th. So they could extend him after the draft. They could extend him whenever. I know the Lakers like Rui. Based on what we've seen he's been a very good shooter, but based on the way he's played, I don't see him getting the money he got this year, the $18 million. I think he's going to have to take a pay cut. He's just not giving you enough of the other stuff right now for him to be worth that. If I'm the Lakers, I'd even be ideally looking at sub MLE money. If you can do something like that. At most, I'd do MLE. That's at most. So we're talking something starting around the 14-ish million range. And I like Rui. He's a very, very high quality shooter, but you need guys who can do other stuff too, who can defend, who can rebound, who can create, who can do all these. And Rui is really just a shooter that can attack the closeout, pull up, get the 15-footer. Not necessarily a great finisher at the rim, not a great rebounder for his size. Can be okay as an individual one-on-one defensive player, but not good as an off-ball defender. It's part of the reason why I don't think he played that much against Orlando tonight. So I think they can keep Rui, but it's got to be at the right number. It's got to be at the right number. And Ayton, does he pick up that $8.1 million option? We'll see. We'll see. I think he probably does. Smart, I think they should be thrilled if Smart picks up his player option, but most likely he declines it. Most likely Smart is going to decline that player option. In fact, let me see. Did the Lakers do anything tricky with this? Nope, they didn't. Option deadline is June 29th. So that's when Marcus Smart has to make a decision by. So he'll have a pretty good sense of what his market's going to look like by then. And I'm assuming Ayton is the same for his deadline. Yep, June 29th. So he has until then to make the decision on whether or not he picks up his player option. The same will be true of Austin Reeves. We already know Reeves is going to decline that. Jared Vanderbilt, still 2 more years under contract after this year. He is extension eligible, but call me crazy, the Lakers are not going to extend Jared Vanderbilt. What are the odds LeBron is back next year? How much of a pay cut would he take? I mean, I think that the odds have to be higher now than they were prior to this run. I think the odds have to be higher right now than they were prior to the run that they're on right now. He looks, first of all, they've been good. They've been winning games, but he looks like he's having a blast. He looks like he's having so much fun playing with this team right now. I think there's the one thing we know for sure is LeBron can play next year. That we know for sure. It's not like we're going through this season and it's like, maybe he's done. That's not where he is still a very, very good player. If he wants to play next year, he can play. That we know 100%. Does he want to play? We don't know that. And then, do the Lakers want him back? Based on the way they're playing right now, they keep doing this through the playoffs, even if they only go through the second round. I think there's motivation to bring him back there if they continue playing like this. Frankly, there's not like a better player sitting out there in free agency. Now, what you don't want to do, though, is bring him back at like 50 plus million at his max. Because if you do that, then you've got the same team minus a few players because you wouldn't be able to re-sign some guys, and that's that. So you'd have to get LeBron to take less. You'd have to. Otherwise, it's probably not worth bringing him back if he wants a full max, but he's not going to get there anywhere else either. So that's the tough part. But I do think if they keep playing the way they're playing right now, it becomes more likely that they bring him back. I don't think that door is closed. And it seems like he's having a good time with the team right now. So I think there is a real world where he comes back. The question is, of course, at what price? At what price does he come back at? And then if it doesn't end well, if things turn south here, maybe he walks away. That could happen too. He could decide, I want to play another year, but I'm going to go play in Cleveland. I'm going to go play in New York. I'm going to play in Golden State, whatever. He could also decide, I'm done playing basketball. I don't want to play anymore. But I am more positive about him coming back now that we've seen this run in them than I was a few weeks ago. Do I think JJ is already using playoff scheme, or is there more in their bag? I think to a degree he's using it. You look at what he's doing defensively to kind of muck things up. Like they're throwing in zones, they're throwing in all kinds of stuff. Now there is more they can do, certainly more specific things for opponents, but I think they are, and I think it's for a few reasons. Like number one, you kind of have to, because you don't want to be seventh. You want to finish high in the standings, all of that. But also, I think they need to get this team in a rhythm and on the same page and playing at a level that is sustainable, because they haven't been playing like this for the vast majority of the season. They've just now gotten this going, and they've had a ton of injuries over the course of the year that has, of course, contributed to that. Plus, they're playing much harder right now. They're playing with a lot of intensity right now. So you want that habit to take hold. So is it ideal? Not necessarily. You don't want to use everything right now and then maybe not be on the upward swing come playoff time. But I think there is a world where they continue to improve and get better for the playoffs. The only thing I'm worried about is opponents' 3-point percentage is unsustainably low right now. And how much of their success is opponents are just missing shots. That's part of it. It's not all of it, certainly. They are playing better, but that's part of it. And I'm curious to see what happens when those shots start falling. For example, right now, let me see. Tonight's game. There it is. The Lakers and Magic were both in the 35 and 35th and 32nd percentile, respectively, on offense. So that's not good. Neither team was very good there offensively. But I'm curious to see what their defense looked like. In fact, let's see if it's in already. No, the data's not in yet. But the last two games, they've been well below league average defensively. 23rd percentile and 33rd percentile. So I want to see the Magic not playing particularly well offensively suggests this should be a decent defensive game for them. But they've got to find some consistency on the defensive side of the ball. All right, everybody. On that, appreciate all of you for joining. A little bonus show in here, but so many crazy things happened around the NBA tonight that I want to jump on and talk about it. Obviously, the Lakers game winner, but also the Houston Rockets, the buzzer beater, the fight in Thunder and Wizards. Madness happening. The Suns losing to the Bucks. The playoffs these next few weeks, it is going to be absolutely crazy watching it all come together and seeing where teams slot heading into the postseason. But thank you, everybody. If you haven't done so yet, please make sure you subscribe right here to the Basketball Bulletin. I truly appreciate all of you. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.